Hi, I'm Abigail Tuanaki, and I'm very excited to share with you why I find it important to be a culturally competent educator. It means a lot of things. The number one priority as an educator for myself is to ensure my students feel safe and comfortable in their day-to-day environment. And in order to do this, I feel a child needs to feel safe and secure in the classroom. They need to know that it's okay to talk and discuss their differences. A child must feel this way in order to even retain the information that we're teaching them. If they don't feel safe and they don't feel like they can be themselves, then most likely their insecurities are going to overtake them and they're not going to retain anything that we're learning about. No matter where I end up teaching, there's going to be diversity and cultures coming together into one classroom, whether that be a kindergarten classroom or a third grade classroom. So I do believe it's important from the get-go to recognize these differences, to celebrate them, to even encourage conversations about them, so all students know that this is a safe place to do that, where they're not going to be judged or shamed based on their backgrounds. I find myself in the cultural competence area on the chart. I do see there is different cultures and backgrounds, and like I said, I do find it very important to have the conversations right away so that students can feel safe in this area. I believe that it should start really as young as kindergarten or preschool or wherever your child is going to be in a public setting with multiple students with different backgrounds. Kids should be able to talk about these differences. They should be able to know that it's okay that their background might look different than their peers' backgrounds, and that's okay as well. I think these are differences that we should encourage to celebrate. We should encourage to dive deeper and ask questions about each other's backgrounds, just so that the open dialogue remains healthy and safe. I believe that students will actually learn a lot from one another just from having these conversations and creating the environment to do so. I do believe I will learn a lot more when I'm hands-on in the classroom day to day. I think I will have the opportunity to teach many backgrounds with all diverse cultures, and I think when you're hands-on and hearing and knowing the students, there's a better opportunity to do so. I'll be able to learn through the eyes of children who have been brought up differently even than myself, and to even have the safe space with my students to share my own background, I think is also very important and vital. I believe that it will teach me to be a lot more understanding and appreciative of not only the way that I was brought up, but continue to remember these things as years go on with many different students in my classroom. My goal is to make sure that each student is always feeling seen, that they feel heard, that they feel validated, and they feel safe, that they can share whatever they desire to share that's safe and that's helpful in our classroom. And I know that there is many resources available with involving different cultures and backgrounds, and I think that would be very useful to read up on some of these things to ensure that I'm prepared for these conversations and that I have some sort of background knowledge to continue the conversation and ask the right questions. I find it very fascinating, really, to think about all the different cultures and backgrounds coming together in one small classroom setting, just to have those really fun and impactful conversations. To be made more aware of these differences, I think a good way to start that is by reading and getting my own knowledge, and just to be able to be more aware of what's going to be had in conversations. I think reading books about making my classroom feel inclusive and safe is beneficial. I think finding ways to incorporate home lives into our classroom is very beneficial, and all of that I think starts right at the beginning when we set those expectations that this is a safe place where we can have these conversations. This all begins when we're just vocal about our backgrounds. I think it's important to do a get to know me activity from the very beginning of the year, something that gives students the opportunity to share their backgrounds, their home lives, where they've been raised, things that their family does to support family traditions. And I think this is a conversation that should continue past the first day of school into daily, weekly activities. Not only should we have the conversation, I think it would be a very beneficial activity to keep these items in our classroom for the rest of the year, whether we hang them on the wall and to continue having the conversations, or if we bring them back out at the beginning of the second semester, whatever it might be, to just continue that open dialogue. I think it's very important to remain respectful in all these situations, to be prepared to encourage kindness when we're talking about our backgrounds, even if I don't agree with it or if other students seem a little confused by it, to always encourage kindness so that students feel they can share. I want my classroom to be a place where we can show off our talents and our thoughts and our opinions in a safe and kind manner. And I'll be sure to make time for discussions during these activities so that if questions are had, they can ask those questions or they can share what they do and get excited with one another. But overall, I am just very excited to have a classroom where every student feels seen and heard, and they feel cared about no matter their background or their desires or their dreams.